Welcome everyone, wherever you're watching around Australia on the 10 network. I'm Gerald McDornan and we're here at the Goodyear Thunderdome at Melbourne's Calder Park Raceway for round number 3 of the Goodyear Australian Super Speedway Series. Coming up on today's show, we've got the Holden Quality Parts HQs, we've also got the Konica Sportsman's and the Champion Gold 200 for the Strathfield National Cars. And George Elliott, that Champion Gold 200 race should be an absolute bottler, a whole new set of tactics.
I think it'll be a classic. You know, it's a much longer race tonight, and you're right, the tactics will play a big part, and the crews will need to be fast. They'll really need to have their act together, and I think that's what will probably get the winning car over the line.
So not only do the cars have to be fast, the drivers fast, but the crews who haven't really come into play much this season have to be right on the ball.
Well, you're right. You know, the crews haven't had a lot to do this year so far because of the shorter races, but I think we'll see the crews that have been practicing throughout the season and preparing for this race tonight. It'll show.
Well, everyone, strap yourselves in, sit down, hang on. We're going for a fast ride here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. And we're getting straight into the HQs, the Holden Quality Parts Cup at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and lights are out on the pace car. Scotty Walker and Mark Wicks on row 1, and we're about to have, mayhem, I think, George Elliott.
Mayhem as always, excitement plus.
Well, we got through race 1 last time on the 10 network without too many incidents. Will race 2 be the same? We're about to find out as the green flag is waving. A huge crowd coming in here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, lap 1 of 20.
Excellent crowd, fantastic night, all anticipating a great night of racing, and they're certainly not going to be disappointed right on the first lap.
Well, last time on the 10 network we were talking how good it was. We got through the first lap without an incident. In fact, we went through nearly the whole 20 laps, but here we go. We've already had a big problem. Let's look at the Repco replay. Back in the pack, cars going everywhere.
Well, there it is. Car's got itself a little bit sideways, cleaned up a car on the inside, turned it back around towards the wall.
That's Lee Casey, and the second car, we'll find that out. The 84 car there, Lee Casey, unfortunately spun it into the wall, and just a nice gentle tap into the bum of the car. Philip Marciano has given him a bit of a Liberace, and we're racing underway yet again in the Holden Quality Parts Cup.
Well, it started slowing them down a little bit there, trying to get them to line up a little bit better. The boys are a bit overexcited to get going.
Now, we should say it's a full restart for the race because they didn't complete the first lap. And Scott Walker on the inside trying to hold Mark Wicks out. And he does as he comes out of Auto Pro number 2. Cars everywhere already. And we had 33 cars start the race yet again.
Scotty Walker's certainly got that car dialed in tonight, hasn't he? Like, car's looking like it's running around there on rails.
Cars going all way, every way, which way but loose.
4 abreast, 5 abreast.
I reckon they're going for 6. Boy, John Harding was in there, the 70 Rose and Crown Hotel HQ. He tried to multiply his banging door handles there. I got to say, George, thank God they didn't put the door handles on. See, luckily they recessed them on the HQ.
Well, mate, if they get 5 or 6 wide there's no room to spin out. You know, they've just got to hold each other up as they run through the turns.
Well, they say rubbing is racing. I don't think they meant to multiply that in terms of 6 and 7.
I don't think so. Scott Walker still just holding a fine line there, but John Agosta round the outside looking for the lead.
Well, we saw in race 1, Agost had made some crazy moves. David McSaveny has spun out in the 17 Werribee Auto Salvage car, and he has gone around okay. It looks as though we're not under caution here in the Holden Quality Parts Cup for HQs, and Scott Walker still out in front with John Agosta and Richard Island battling for 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th.
Scott Walker, you see him running really high on the racetrack there, using that high banking to give himself a bit extra speed as he runs into the turn.
Oh, here we go. We've got some cars maybe going around. Yes, Mark Wicks, the Butch Jones racing car, and a winner last time out, has gone around on the grass D. And again, I don't think we're going to go under caution because Wicks has saved it.
Yeah, he's got it straight there. He'll get back onto the racetrack and hasn't interfered with anybody too much.
no doubt he'll be disappointed with that. Butch Jones Racing fielded a couple of cars here, and we saw Wicks win at round number 2.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be disappointed. Always disappointing when you're running up the front like that. We've got another one sideways.
2 of them. Augusta's hit the wall, and Richard Island has spun around. Will we go into caution? We've got cars going everywhere. Look at that freight train went up high, and thankfully Island has not copped any hits, and the yellows are out.
Well, he got a little bit of a tap there, a slower car coming from the rear sideways. Just tapped him on the front, but I don't think enough to do any damage. Let's look at the replay.
And the Repco replay, maybe even got a little bit loose and pushed Augusta around. Just a bit out of vision there. We just missed it, but Island touched the wall gently, so did Augusta. And thankfully, look at the cars going everywhere on the brakes. And those 4 cars, a little bit of a tap there, but luckily, everyone got through there okay.
Yeah, I think Augusta, I don't know whether he did a lot of damage. He got high in the racetrack, up into the marble. Let's have another look at it. Different angle.
And the 25 car there is John Spencer. And there was the tap. Just a bit of a tap between Island and Augusta.
It doesn't take much, though. It just shows you how much on the edge of out of control these cars are going through these turns. I mean, you could almost have leaned out there and just pushed Augusta around.
Well, you could have done a little bit of damage there with the HQ Hollins one coming through, and we are under caution at the Goodyear Thunderdome. We're going to go to a break on the 10 network, and we will be back right after this. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. The HQ's getting ready to restart. The green has waved, and this is race 2, lap 10. We've shortened the race to 15 laps.
Well, everybody anticipates plenty of excitement, and the boys certainly haven't disappointed tonight.
Not at all. Everyone has gone every which way but loose. Scott Walker's still out in front, though, and Robert Wright is right on his tail. Steve Walker, Scotty's brother, sitting in third. And he's in the Growers' Choice Hydroponics at number 10 HQ.
Scott got it all together tonight, hasn't he? He's got that car running really well. It looks nice and stable through the turns.
I tell you, someone who has got it together, despite the fact he's had a whack against the wall, is now in position number 3 on lap 12 of 15, is John Augusta in the AMR car.
He doesn't know when to quit, does he?
We've seen him in race 1, he went on the grass. In race 2, he's whacked the wall. He's in third, he's challenging for second. He's gone every way. Oh boy, and our leader's gone. Scotty Walker's out of it. He's lost the control of the car. He's, fantastic. He's kept it on the racetrack now.
Kept it on the racetrack, but this end of the race, that's not the time to want to hit the grass.
Not at all, and lost the huge amount of momentum. Now this allows Robert Wright and John Augusta to charge for the lead. Augusta, we know he's going to try every way. He'll go right through the middle if he has to.
Well, Augusta down low. He's certainly got the ideal line, and I think he's going to take the lead. Yep, comes through. Great pass by Augusta. And
now Johnny Spencer, Robert Wright's teammate, has gone up into second with the Ray Bestas Fuchs Oils, the Dart Racing team. The white flag is waving. We're on the last lap, and it will be a chase to the checkered flag.
Well, Augusta's certainly thrown out everything he's had here to get to the lead, and he's certainly not going to give it away too easily. I'm sure that car stepped out about 2 feet in the rear end. It was going to spin around, but Augusta's kept it planted. Look at the cars are going everywhere. They're just trying to follow the leader and get the draft to get a better position. But John Spencer's in second, Robert Wright's in third, and it looks as though Augusta might take a win here. It will be a miracle. Spencer's gone the inside. Will he get past? No, Augusta covers the line. The checkered flag waves, and Augusta takes the win. Johnny Spencer in second, and Robert Wright in third. A great result for the Dart Racing team, but also the AMR AC Delco Repco car of John Augusta, our race winner. And what a great job. Let's go down and chat to him now.
John Augusta, congratulations. You did it, but you've also got a little bit of damage at the back left-hand corner.
Yeah, you're not wrong. That was a little bit touch and go up there. I was trying to go around the outside. There probably was a little bit more room required to all of us get through safely. It hit the fence, managed to keep it in one line, and I I don't know what it broke under there, but it made a horrible racket the rest of the race. I'm just glad we could get home for AMR, LPG equipment, ACL engine parts, Repco, and our little sponsors, JW Auto Gas, Werribee Auto Salvage, and Werribee Radiators. They do a good job to keep us on the track. I'll have to go back and see them to get it back here again.
Well, a very happy winner. John Agosta takes out the win. AMR and ACL and Repco. John Spencer in second. Robert Wright in third. Great result for Dart Racing. And here's some Konica spectacular moments. We know the HQs always provide them. Have a look at this. Great to have your company back at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Let's look at the grid for the Konica Sportsmen. Con Verica and Graham Gilliland, Chris Robertson and Graham Crawford.
Leanne Ross and Tony Howland, Neville Blight and Jerry Rayleigh out of position 8.
Next row, Mark Sutherland and Ron Savas, Darryl Howden and Brett Campbell.
Graham O'Brien, Ron Thorne, Harvey Caton and Chris Howard.
And the Konica Sportsman's almost could be called the Connie Verica Sportsman category because he has just streeted the fields at rounds 1 and 2, George, and he's getting ready to do it again.
Well, he's certainly on a roll. You know, we've spoken earlier about Connie Verica taking turnabout with his brother, and this is his season, and isn't he making the most of it?
He charges off. Leanne Ross moves around one of the slower cars. That looked to be Ron Savas there on the start. And Connie Verica has already into turn 1 and 2. The Auto Pro turn started to pull away. Graham Gilliland, the G&G engineering car, doing a great job already, just sticking on the back bumper bar.
Well, Graham's pretty keen to get up there. He's probably thinks it's about his turn, but we'll see what Connie Verica thinks of that.
Gilliland, a reigning champion here at the Goodyear Thunderdome in second. Graham Crawford in third on the Auto Pro scoreboard. And look there at the end of the first lap, all of a sudden that big Ford Power of the Verica Brothers Smash Repairs car pulls away.
It's not only the Ford Power, but they've really got the handling package together. If you watch the car run through the turns, he's able to get it right down onto the apex of the turn, just touches the yellow line on the way through, and almost runs a perfect lap.
Let's pick it up with our leader, Con Verica, the Verica Brothers Smash Repairs car well out in front. There's Ron Savas on screen, the 0-0 car, and he has got around it. Crawford hit the brakes trying to miss him. He stayed out of trouble, but Savas, who came second at the first round here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, is back on track and hasn't hit the concrete.
Well, back on track, be pretty happy just to have missed the concrete and get the thing pointed in the right direction again.
The blue and yellow flag came out for Savas to let him know that faster traffic was approaching. Con Verica well out in front. Graham Gilliland in second, and Crawford still holds on to third.
Well, Verica really got it sewn up here. He doesn't really have anybody to race. He's out there racing the racetrack. You can see an enormous lead and a huge break back to the car that's running second.
The thing about Verica's lead, we should say, George, is that while he's out in front as well, we're talking about he's got the power and got the package right. While he's out in front, he can take the optimum lines, he can try different lines, and there, again, it's helping him set up the car for the next time around.
Well, it is, you know, he's got a big enough lead to get out there and really set the car up and do what he likes.
And a good battle going on in the background. The number 3 car, Neville Blight, goes around. The Blight car sales car smokes the tyres, bags them up and keeps on going. Great bit of driving.
Finish up pointing in the right direction. That helps.
He hit the throttle at the right time as well.
Absolutely.
Well, you copy that if you could on a Konica copy. The Castrol car of Ron Thornton is in all sorts of problems and a bit of fluid coming out of the front there. The yellow flag is out. The restart for the Conacher Sportsman's round number 3. Green flag out, lap 20 of 30 here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and Converica streaks off into the lead again.
Well, that's pulled his lead back and given the other guys a bit of a bite at him again, but I don't think it's really going to make a lot of difference. You know, that car is just on such a roll. The thing is handling so well. I think he'll just open up the lead again.
No doubt about that. And also Graham Gilliland looking to stay in second spot. Chris Hound starting to make a change. And look, there as well is a young lady, Leanne Ross. Oh, we've got trouble in the pack. Jerry Rally's gone, the number 2 car.
I think he's had a bit of a suspension problem there, the way he locked that car up there. Wasn't able to steer it. The thing just seemed to take it where it wanted to go.
Yeah, that was a strange one, the ICI Auto Colour, number 2 Falcon from Kerry Panels in Vermont in Victoria. And I've got to say, go the Vermont Eagles. I love my footy, especially at Vermont. Let's look at the Repco replay, and cars touching everywhere. And there's Jerry Rally up high. Then cuts down. Well, I tell you what, he hit the brakes at the right time as well. He was going to hit that other car and just couldn't steer anywhere else.
Well, he could see himself heading for that wall there and was doing everything he could to scrub some speed off.
Let's pick the race up now on the restart of the Conacher Sportsman's at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Lap 28 of 30, just 3 laps to go, George. But Converica, the way he's raced all today, you've got to say he's favourite to take out the win again.
Well, I think he is. I think he's certainly going to take the win. I think jockeying positions will be for 2 and 3 at this point.
And Chris Robinson currently in second, Graham Gilliland in third, and Leanne Ross with Chris Milton Engine Developments, Miller Beer car in fourth spot. She is doing a fantastic job.
She's doing a great job. Had a lot of Speedway background, and she's adapted to this form of racing very, very well. Doing a great job here now.
No doubt there'll be plenty of that Miller genuine draft drunk after the end of the night if she has a good result here. Although I should say she won't be drinking and driving, because if you do, you are a bloody idiot, and she's not in this position because of that.
I'm sure she's got a lot more sense than that. Look at Converica streaking out ahead there, certainly showing the boys the way around, and the girl.
And Chris Robinson trying desperately to get past. He's pushing that 54 car hard, too hard. In fact, the Goodyear belting car has gone around, and he's trying to keep it off the wall and out of the way of oncoming traffic. He does. But he tried so hard that all came to naught in the end. But you've got to say, well done for having a go.
Well, that's what it's all about. Have a go. I mean, he threw out everything he had. Just didn't quite had enough, though, for Converica here.
So Verica now up the back straight in the Conacher Sportsman category. Round number 3. He's going to take another win. Graham Gilliland in second, and Leanne Ross at Miller. I reckon it's ice chilled already. She's going to be cracking a few tonight. She's coming across in third. And here we go. Converica takes the checkered flag. Great result. And Graham Gilliland in second. Leanne Ross does get third. Let's go and talk to our winner.
Converica 3 in a row. What's it going to take to beat you?
One step at a time, I suppose. Thanks very much for the compliment. But 3 in a row is, I suppose, not bad effort. But take every race as it comes. So we got Adelaide next, and it's a different ball game up there. So we'll have another go up there, I suppose.
Well, great result for Converica on the Conacher race score. Takes the win ahead of Graham Gilliland and Leanne Ross. We're going to a break. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. The Strathfield National cars are out again. Lee Watkins and Richard Howe off the front row. Matthew White and Eddie Abelmeeker off row 2.
Shane Houlihan out of position 5, Darren McDonald, Jason Wiley and Nathan Preddy from position 8.
Next on position number 9, Marshall Brewer and Wayne Smith out of 10. Jason Kennedy and Daryl Spears.
Nicole Preddy, Jason Morrill, and rounding out the top 15 is Edward Wood.
This is the Champion Gold 200, 110 fast and furious laps around the 24-degree bank turns of the Goodyear Thunderdome.
Well, Lee Watkins would be anxious to make amends here this week too. He had a bit of bad luck at the last outing, running very, very fast. Won the first round of the night, but a mechanical failure took him out.
And we should say, though, that this race is completely different to rounds 1 and 2, George, in that we've got 110 laps. It is flat out. Pit stops are involved as we're riding with Nathan Pretty.
Well, you know, all the strategy changes too from the short races to a long race like this. Guys really need to think about conserving their tyres, know exactly how much fuel they've got left in the car so that they can plan when to come in and have their pit stops.
Lee Watkins, Richard Howe and Matthew White are our leaders on the Auto Pro scoreboard at the moment. There's Eddie Abel-Nisa, the Melbourne Cheapest Cars Commodore, riding up the back straight. The pace is really on already. Just out the back of him is Darren McDonald in that Power Mac car.
Riding with Wayne Smith, great pictures off the roof of these cars.
The supercharged batteries, Commodore. Great to see Wayne back here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, a former Konica Sportsman champion.
Lee Watkins showing the way around here. He's certainly got some power in that car, and the handling package of the car is awesome. Runs through those turns just like it's on rails.
Yeah, Watkins is, in terms of race starts, the second most experienced racer in the Strathfield National Car category, ranking only behind Marshall Brewer.
Yeah, well, Lee's been at it for a long time. You know, it's taken him a few years to really get the package together, but he certainly has got it together this season. He has been fast all year.
Looking out the back of Eddie Abel-Nika's car again. Darren McDonald going down the inside with the Christian Holden Power Mac 44 car. And here comes Nathan Pretty in the number 2 DeWalt Goodyear Commodore.
Yeah, Eddie got himself hung up a little bit high there and let quite a number of cars slip underneath.
Jason Wiley also coming through. And there we've got Darren McDonald and Nathan Pretty and Jason Wiley ahead of Eddie Abel-Nisa. Great bunch of young drivers there. Richard Howe goes high there under the Goodyear sign. The number 11 Ferntree Gully Bolts Falcon went right up into the marbles and lucky to keep it off the wall.
Yeah, he certainly would have been busy. He'd have had his hands full there, but look at the freight train that went underneath him. You know, it just breaks your heart when you're running hard like that. You get out of shape a little bit, and all of a sudden 6 or 7 cars go by you like you've been tied to a tree.
Lee Watkins still out in front. Nathan Pretty, we're aboard the DeWalt Tools Goodyear Commodore. Working hard inside the car, the driver from Wodonga in Victoria. There on screen there is the camera facing Nathan Pretty. Can't see the concentration. He's got the black visor, but no doubt he is working hard and an eye on the job.
Well, it's getting to that time in the afternoon also where you run into that turn there. The sun hits the windscreen and blanks it out just for a split second there. You're completely blind, and you really have to have a lot of faith in the guys that you're following.
The big rumour is that next season, Nathan Pretty, in fact, might be stepping up to the AC Delco Cup category.
It'll be nice to see. You know, it's always good to see these younger drivers actually come up through the ranks, spend a few years in the Oscar division, and then move up into the NASCARs.
It's all about progression. These guys have also come from the sportsman category, and Jason Wiley looking the inside line there with the Trust Bank Computerland car. He gets under Pretty with his Commodore, and looking with Pretty, he's shaking his head a little bit. Maybe he's a bit disappointed with where he's gone under.
Well, I don't know if he's shaking or just trying to keep it upright coming through those turns with the G-forces.
Here we go. Wiley, yes, definitely getting through now. And out in front of Nathan Pretty, Darren McDonald trying to follow him through. Doesn't happen coming out of turn 2. And we're riding on board with Eddie Abel-Nisa.
Eddie won the last round here, of course. Would love to back up and take a back-to-back win. Look at the determination on his face.
Loves his racing, and that determination shows he's gunning for a second win at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Shane Houlihan now looking under the inside line. Eddie turns into turn 1 and 2. And talking about determination, we spoke to Darren McDonald about his theory on what it takes to win.
First of all, you've got to be fast. I think the racing's extremely fast lately. The pace has been on all the way from the start to the end. And I think you've got to be there at the end, so basically sort of keep in there and keep out of trouble.
Who would you rate as your toughest competitor?
I'd sort of rate, there's a couple there, Jason Wiley and Eddie Abel-Nika, I'd say probably the 2 toughest at the moment, I'd say, but it's anyone's race. You never know with the national cars at the moment. Everybody seems to be fast.
Some interesting comments there from Darren McDonald in the 44 Power Mac Christian Holden Commodore. And there he is working away in that car and looking for another win here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Currently, Lee Watkins out in front ahead of Matthew White in that freighter Holden Icy Eye Auto colour Holden Commodore.
Well, Lee Watkins doing a great job, still holding the lead there, although Matthew's gaining on him and about to put a move on him, I'd say, at this point.
Well, Watkins keeps the pedal planted up the back straight and towards Simcoe turns 3 and 4 for the Strathfield National cars. He's trying to drive in a jibe away to victory lane. He can't when he goes up high like that. And Matthew White freighters on through.
Well, still early in the race, you know. He's run a little high on the racetrack, and Matthew certainly took advantage of it.
Well, Matthew White heads off into the distance. We're going to go to a break on the 10 network around Australia. We're back after this.
Welcome back. We're looking at Lee Watkins doing everything he can to manhandle that car through these turns. Car seems to have developed a little bit of a push. It's got a little bit tight, and we see him running high.
Let's go down to Nathan Prendergast, who's on Primus pit lane with Lee Watkins crew chief.
Peter Valentine, Lee was running hard earlier on, but we noticed he's fallen back. Is that due to the fact that it's a long race, or does he have a problem?
Yeah, we're just playing a strategy as we go along. We've got a very slight push in the car. We're just trying to conserve it at the moment. We've got a strategy fairly well worked out. We're playing along to that at the moment. We don't have a problem. As I say, he's got a very slight push, but other than that, we're okay.
Can you go this sort of distance on one stop, or will there need to be two?
We're only banking on one stop at the moment. We'll have tyres and a dash of fuel, and that's our strategy at the moment. Everything's going according to plan.
Good luck to you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Well, that's what it's all about, is having a good solid plan, George, and trying to stick with that, provided that the cautions run your way as well.
Tyres and a dash of fuel. Now, there's a cocktail, isn't it?
Well, Lee Watkins is hoping that's all that's needed to drive the victory lane again. The caution is out on the racetrack. The yellows are waving in the Strathfield National Cars race. The champion Gold 200, and Shane Houlihan has had a big coming together with the wall.
Showing extensive damage there. Let's look at it on the replay.
And the Repco replay shows, looks like he might have cut a tyre down. All of a sudden, smoke out the right-hand side. The car just drove straight on and bang into the wall. That would have hurt.
Absolutely. I'd say that's definitely what's happened there. You see the tyre actually almost explode.
Well, Eddie Abel-Nice has taken the opportunity to bring the Melbourne Cheapest Cars Commodore in. They've changed the tyres. The crew looking to do the right-hand side as well. They're going around. They are doing it. It's 4 tyres.
Well, they're taking 4 tyres because they've still got plenty of time left in the race. It's early days yet, and, you know, they may not get another yellow before the end of the race. So they're taking advantage of this one. 4 tyres, full fuel, and they're going to go for it.
Well, as we said, it's 110 laps this time around, not the 40 and 60 lap races. Eddie Abel-Nice is out. Let's go down to his pit lane with Nathan Prendergast.
Shane Bradbury, we've had a caution pretty early, and he's come in and taken on 4 tyres. Why so soon?
Well, if it goes green right to the end now, there's a good chance we can make it. So, you know, we're not losing anything if we come in now. If we get another caution later, we'll stop again.
Well, that's a good tactic by Shane Bradbury and the Melbourne Cheapest Cars crew. We're getting ready to go racing again in the champion Gold 200 for Strathfield National Cars. Green flag waving and lap 31 of 110. So good time to come in early, George.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I mean, it's pretty unlikely they'd probably go the whole distance without a yellow, but I think really that it'd be a big gamble not to come in and take it at this point. Matthew White showing them the way around and certainly setting the pace.
Looking out the front of Wayne Smith's supercharged batteries, Holden Commodore. He's back a little bit behind Marshall Brewer there, but that's okay. Great racer. But out in front, a Holden Parts freighter, Holden Commodore, and Matthew White. There's Jason Wiley in second, and it looks to be Lee Watkins sitting in third, and Nathan Pretty in fourth.
Yeah, Lee's still doing a good job there, and, you know, sitting in third at this point of the race is probably not a bad place to be.
Matthew White coming out of Auto Pro turn number 2, up the back straight. The car bounced a little bit. That's okay. That's what it's all about. Looking looking out the back of Abel Nisa's Belton cheapest cars, Commodore. He's going under the 31 IMV Truck Repairs car of Darryl Spears, but White Spears off into the distance.
Eddie Abel Nisa running a fairly consistent race. I guess he's planning to go the full distance and conserve everything he's got.
Tony Forgione, Matt White's doing a good job out in front, but we've seen a few come in for tyres. You guys haven't. Are we counting on another caution, or are we going to go come in on a stop on a green?
Well, it was still a bit early yet to come in for tyres. We don't know the strategy yet, but if it does come down to it, we'll have to come in on a green, but another caution would be the go.
So the plan is go for the caution, otherwise you'll be stopping on the green.
That's right, and that'll be a tough one.
Best of luck to you.
Thanks very much.
Well, they're going to need the best of luck as well, George. That caution early in the race perhaps might have provided them with the ideal opportunity. You should also mention that Darren McDonald came in the pit area and pitted, but could only put on a front tyre. He couldn't change the rear. We're on lap 58. Let's go down to the pit lane and Nathan Prendergast.
Steve Johnson, crew chief for Jason Wiley. You didn't take on tyres and he's slowly wearing down Matty White. When will we see you in?
We're trying to hold for a caution at this stage, but we might have to come in under green, but the car's going strong at the moment, so just wait and see how it pans out.
He looks pretty comfortable out there. He's slowly wearing him down. Is he doing it easy, just sitting back trying to conserve it a little bit? Well, we've just been told he passed him, so well done. He has been doing it pretty easy.
Yeah, he's been doing it pretty good. The lap times are pretty constant. We're just trying to sort of wait to see what happens in the next 10 laps.
Pray for a caution.
Yeah.
Well, praying for a caution, sometimes it just doesn't come through.
Yeah, I don't know about that business, but you know, they desperately need a caution. These guys have gambled on there being another yellow, and whilst I said that it's probably unlikely, but it can happen, and if they go the whole distance without another yellow, there will be a lot of fast cars out here in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, they are going to be the ones in trouble. Darren McDonald in that Power Mac car is powering through the field with Eddie Abel Nisa, both of them going down the inside of Nathan Pretty. And here we go, we're talking about pit stops. Who are the guys that headed into pit lane and took on some tyres in that Primus pit lane? As Nathan Pretty slows down, it just happened to be Darren McDonald and Eddie Abel Nisa. Let's go down to Primus pit lane and Nathan.
Things are getting very interesting down here in the pits. The fact of the matter is that the two lead cars have not yet stopped for tyres. They cannot go the whole distance on the green at the moment. There needs to be a caution so they can capitalise on that and come in. If we go the whole race on the green, these guys are going to have to stop. It's going to throw everything out of order.
Well, out of order, the two guys pressing on that haven't pitted, as Nathan has said, are these two guys, Jason Wiley and Matthew White. They are praying that something's going to happen, and they're praying for someone's misfortune.
Well, we're seeing cars start to pit now under the green. That's a tough call, you know, because to be able to come in there, change tyres, take fuel on and get back out without losing a lap is pretty difficult.
Well, you're talking around about 30, 35 seconds in the pits. A lap is about 30 to 32 seconds under race conditions in the Strathfield National cars.
Well, plus you've still got the slowing down period and the period that it takes to get back out and up to race speed again. It's a man having a good time, isn't
he? He's cool, calm and collected. I tell you what, the Fernbury Gully Bolts team and Richard Howe, he doesn't seem to be too bothered. And the Champion Gold 200 just keeps on going, and Howe's out of pit lane smoking those tyres.
Well, that puts him probably well over a lap down. And now have a look at those tyres. We're seeing tyres that have just come off that car and almost scrubbed right down. We've got camber showing now. So how difficult it is to maintain that pace on tyres that are in that condition. Very, very hard.
Well, Wiley and also White still are on those old tyres. Wayne Smith, the Supercharged Batteries team, are working hard here. They are supercharged themselves, changing those tyres. The 38 Commodore is in pit lane and carrying one of the cameras on board this weekend for the 10 network, putting in fuel. But here's Wiley and White, and again, staying out there on the tyres, and Eddie Abel Nisa and Darren McDonald back a little bit, and they changed early in the race. And I tell you what, I've got to say, despite the fact that we've still got 30-odd laps to go, McDonald and Eddie Abel Nisa got to be in the box seat. Lee Watkins is in the pit lane with the Pennzoil car. He's out now. We're out too. We're going to a break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. The Strathfield National cars on the Pettis suspension scoreboard, lap 81 of 110. In the champion gold 200, and one of our leaders, Matthew White, is in the Primus pit lane. And Georgie might have, we're under green, might have left the pit stop a little bit late.
Yeah, well, they all gambled on another yellow coming out, and of course they've now got to the point where they just can't stay out any longer. They need tyres, they need fuel. They couldn't possibly make the end of the race without coming in. You know, the heartbreaking thing for these guys now will be if there's a yellow comes out in the next few laps.
Now, can I say that perhaps it would have been better had they come in on a green back at lap 60-odd, because then they would have had another 20-odd laps to make up that difference.
Yeah, well, you're right, John, absolutely. But, you know, the whole point of it is, though, they were gambling on another yellow coming out before they got to this point, and it just didn't happen.
Well, Jason Wiley is still out there and circulating. Matthew White comes out of pit lane, and here we go. Matthew White now on lap 89 of 110, challenging Jason Wiley, and Lee Watkins just ahead of them. He's out of the running, although I should mention that Watkins is in fourth, almost not quite a lap behind, and if a caution comes out, he'll make that lap back up. Jason Wiley, though, is a lap ahead of Matthew White.
Yeah, well, Matthew's trying to unlap himself now. If he can get in front of Jason, that at least unlaps himself. Then he has to go right round, pick up another lap to be back in the race with him again.
Which is, of course, what you can do if there is a caution, because the pace car picks up the leader of the race, and everyone in front of him gets to go back around virtually and make that lap up.
Yeah, well, I would imagine, though, that if a yellow came out now, if we had another caution now, Jason would definitely come in for tyres and fuel. So that would then put
Matthew White further
up the field and in a much better position.
Well, Jason Wiley is still battling away with those 80 or 90 odd lap old tyres and doing a tremendous job, still pushing the pace despite the fact he hasn't been in the Primus pit lane.
He's doing a fantastic job. It just goes to show you how well his car's set up to be able to maintain that pace on tyres that are in the condition that those tyres must be in by now.
Well, we saw Richard Howe's Ferntree Gully Bolts Goodyear tyres after 75 laps. There goes Richard Howe now. He had worn out the inside, was right down to the canvas and probably on the verge of blowing. Jason Wiley, well, perhaps a little bit more conservative early in the race and allowing him, just in case he needed to push to further towards the end of the race, has kept those tyres okay.
Well, it all depends on how his car's set up too. You know, his car's definitely set up very, very well, and that's also conserving time. We just saw Jason give a bit of a wave there. He knew he had to come in. Yeah, this is it. This is why he waved. To let the drivers behind him know he was about to slow, and he just couldn't afford to take the risk on going any further or run out of fuel.
So our points leader is now into the Primus pit lane with the Trust Bank Computerland car, and just checking for any debris in front of the radiator there, or any grime or paper. New tyres go on the inside or the outside line, the left-hand side of the car. Fuel is going in the churns, and revs are up. Jack is down, and Jason Wiley now out of the Primus pit lane and has to make up. Well, one of the crew guys was not happy at all.
Well, this is an interesting scenario, because I think without looking at the timing, we've probably got the two fastest cars on the racetrack a lap down.
Well, that's the interesting part. We saw Matthew White blow by Jason Wiley that time. There's Darren McDonald, and the 44 Power Mac Christian Holden car is now in the lead on lap 94 of 110.
Well, you know, it's all gone in Darren's favour. He came in and took advantage of the yellow, having absolutely no idea whether there would be another one, but I guess that everybody, and I guess I would be included in that, if I'd have been in that race, I would have gambled on another yellow coming out.
Well, the interesting part here as well is that McDonald only changed one tyre. He changed the outside front tyre. He had tagged the wall earlier, and he couldn't change the rear tyre. So that car must be getting a bit loose in the tail.
Yeah, it would. I mean, you know, he's got obviously a good tyre on the right front, and the other three have to be fairly second-hand by now.
Well, they must be, and no doubt his crew are probably, as we see Nathan Pretty go everywhere, his crew are concerned. Let's go down to Primus Pit Lane with Nathan Prendergast.
How's the car going? He put on tyres early.
We only put on one tyre, so all we could get on. The other, we can't get the back tyre on because he hit the wall. He's still making fairly good time, but he said the car's not handling very well. It's shaking and it's vibrating, so obviously we must have a fairly quick one.
Well, let's hope it hangs out to the finish line. We're on lap 107 of 110 here at the Champion Gold 200. Jason Wiley and Matthew White battling. Now Wiley's in third, Eddie Abel-Nisa second, and Darren McDonald on the Auto Pro scoreboard leading the field, and he might be heading to victory lane.
Well, how hard has Jason Wiley been pushing that car? You know, we saw him just a little earlier, a lap down there as he came in under the green to change tyres, and here he is up into position 3.
Most definitely the fastest car on the track at the moment, Eddie Abel-Nisa. The Melbourne Cheapest Cars Commodore flame out as he heads into the turns, but doing a fantastic job in second. He can't get McDonald, I don't think, and that Powell Mac Christian Holden car comes out of Auto Pro 2 and onto the back straight with just a couple to go.
McDonald really working hard with that car now. As we've said, he's got one new tyre on it. What sort of condition would the other 3 be in?
Well, even the new tyre, George, bearing in mind that that was changed way back in lap 30 odd, so that's got to be looking fairly second-hand by now.
Yeah, it certainly would be. You know, he'd definitely be counting the laps down and wishing them away because he would know by radio that Jason is catching him.
Well, Jason has to get past Eddie Abel-Nisa first, but Darren McDonald keeps a foot planted firmly in that Commodore up that back straight. Nathan Pretty not too far behind. Lee Watkins there goes through, but there's McDonald in the Powmac car. Down low. The lines are nice. He's backed off the pace a little bit because he's trying to conserve the car through to the white flag and then the check, and the white flag is waving, and McDonald is heading towards victory lane with the Powmac car.
Well, he knows he just needs to, you know, conserve the car now, just cruising around there. He's got a bit of a gap. He's not under any great pressure right now, and not too far from his win.
Yes, McDonald now. He'll let Pretty go by if he wants to. He comes down into Simcoe, turns 3 and 4. The car travels up a little bit, starts to push out of the 4. Now onto the front straight for the last time. Checkered flag waves, and Darren McDonald takes a great win. The crew are ecstatic, and so they should be. They have done a fantastic job in taking him all of the way through from lap 30 with one tyre change. Now let's go and speak with a happy winner, Darren McDonald.
Sensational drive, Darren. Things were getting very tough there towards the end. Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, I thought, well, it was a matter of who's got the best setup at the end, and I think my car was pretty well the best out there. And it's extremely good news. I can't believe that I've been able to hang on for so long. That car's unbelievable. But it's good news for our sponsors, Christians Holden, Cobden Milk and Machines, and all their minor sponsors. And fantastic news. Can't believe it.
Little different to the cutthroat racing that you've had of late with the short races. Do you have to put on a different race face for these long endurance ones?
You certainly have to. I had a bit of a scrape earlier on in the race up against the wall, and I come in for an early pit stop to get the tyres changed, and we couldn't get the back tyre off, so I had the original tyre on the back, but the front tyre was the only one that got replaced through the whole race.
The only man to win 2 races so far in this series. Congratulations.
Okay, thanks.
Well, a very happy and proud Darren McDonald there takes the win for the Stratfield National Cars Champion Gold 200. Eddie Abel-Nisa, a great result for second. Jason Wiley in third. Matthew White in fourth. And Lee Watkins rounded out the top 5 on the Stratfield National scoreboard. The championship points go like this. Jason Wiley in the lead. Darren McDonald second. Eddie Abel-Nisa in third. Nathan Pretty and Richard Howe round out the top 5 there. So very competitive field. Well, that's it from the Goodyear Thunderdome. Great to have had your company. Thanks to George Elliott and everyone else. We'll see you back here next time on the 10 Network. Welcome everyone, wherever you're watching on the 10 Network around Australia. I'm Gerald McDornan and we're at the Goodyear Thunderdome at Melbourne's Calder Park Raceway, and we've got a great action-packed show coming up for you. We've got first up the Holden Quality Parts HQ Holdens, and they're a great category of racing. And then we've got the AC Delco Cup cars contesting the Herald Sun 250. And George Elliott, the Herald Sun 250, the AC Delco Cup cars, that's going to be a fantastic race, 137 laps.
Well, you know, if practice is any indication, Gerald, we're going to see a fantastic night of racing. And as you've said, a much longer race tonight, so that'll bring out a whole new set of tactics. And the guys will really need to pace themselves. I think it'll come down really to who's got the fastest crew at the end of the night.
That's what it gets down to. It's not only the driver and how well the car's going, but the crew must also be right on the ball.
Yeah, huge team effort here, especially on a long race.
Well, maybe Santa's going to bring someone home a Christmas prize here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Strap yourselves in, sit down, hang on. We're on for a fast ride. Straight into the action with the Holden Quality Parts HQ Holden, Scott Walker and John Acosta lining up in the front row of the grid, and George Elliott. The HQs, we've already said they provide us with plenty of entertainment. And how many of them? A gaggle of them, a flock of them, all ready to go.
Great word, Gerald, a gaggle. I don't know if it's a gaggle or a giggle, but we're certainly set for some action. And here they go. We'll get a start this time by the pace cars off the racetrack. Green flags waving.
And 33 of them head off on lap 1 of 20. Well, 33 HQ Holdens, you've got to expect some action here at the Goodyear Thunderdome at Melbourne's Calder Park Raceway. And the cars have headed around Autopro's turns 1 and 2. And amazingly, we've got by without having any damage.
It's a bit of a record at late, I think, Gerald. We've got through those turns. Still ran 4 abreast, I saw some of the cars go. And as you say, we've made it through one complete lap without any great disasters.
Yeah, well, they're still bumper to bumper. Plenty of cars jostling for position there. Nearly 3 abreast coming across the start-finish line as they head up again into turns 1 and 2. Whoa, one of the cars is out of shape. That was car 11. That's Scott Walker, the Walker Transport car, and no doubt the heart was in the mouth, but he's controlled the car exceptionally well.
Did a great job. You know, all of these guys do a great job with these cars. John Acosta run really, really high there. He's trying to use the advantage of the banking on the track, trying to get himself a bit of a slingshot to gain a bit of momentum as he comes out of the turn, but didn't quite get it that time.
The draft in the HQ Holdens is really, really important. These cars are flat to the floor all of the way around, so position is paramount to where you're going to end up.
Well, it is, Gerald, and also, as you say, the draft is very important. They've pretty much all got the same sort of horsepower, so, you know, nobody's got any great advantage where they can just pull out and pass. So what they need to do is they need to get behind one another, you know, try and get a bit of a draft going and then go for a slingshot move, and that seems to be the best way to pull a nice clean pass here on the Thunderdome.
Scott Walker has extended his lead while the cars just a little bit back from him are jostling. Here comes another bunch of cars. Here they go, left, right, every which way but loose. But it's still Scott Walker out in front, lap 4 of 20 on the Penner suspension scoreboard. And a big crowd coming in here at Calder Park Raceway.
Yeah, crowd's been streaming in. I'd say we're in for a very, very exciting night with a huge crowd. And certainly not going to be disappointed with the action.
The number 4 car's in there. That's
we've got a car loose all up the back. Smoke, cars everywhere, but he managed to regain control of it. Did a pretty good job there to keep that straight.
Well, we're still going along, and unfortunately, or fortunately, nothing has happened as yet. We're pretty happy about that. Scott Walker's well out in front. John Acosta and John Harding are battling for second and third position. Here comes one of the other cars, John Spencer, and they are still going every which way. The 25 car is in there. That's Robert Wright. Also the 15 car in there as well, Mark Wicks. He's been performing well in the first few rounds.
Yeah, he has. He's had a really good run and set to try really hard for another win here tonight.
Well, we're still going. No accidents, thankfully, in the Holden Quality Parts HQs. Holden Quality Parts are probably saying, hang on, let's sell some parts. Come on.
I'd say the wreckers, you know, HQ racing's really got to have driven the cost of HQ motor cars and parts through the roof, hasn't it?
Well, the guys, if they have had accidents, they've certainly head out and tried to get some new cars for the next meeting. and knew they've tried to find anything that they can, and obviously they still have to pass some safety inspections here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. There's Scott Walker on screen doing a great job ahead of Mark Wicks there, and Walker in the Walker Transport car, a winner last time out.
John Augusta running high up the track there. He's not frightened to stick it in. He looking for the high run. It's not going to back off or anything.
There he is. There he's banging doors with John Harding, a former champion here in the Holden Quality Parts Cup. Harding just sneaks around in the third around Auto Pro 1 and 2. And as they head up the back straight, we'll be trying to perhaps get Augusta to unsqueeze off the gas pedal, but Augusta now got the better run up the back straight.
Yeah, I don't think there's much chance of him getting out of the gas for anybody, Gerald. You know, 20 laps doesn't sound like a lot, but gee, these guys have really done a day's work. Oh, it's sideways there. Great job to recover that.
Caution is out on the racetrack in the Holden Quality Parts. HQ Holden, race number 1. The caution's out. We're racing yet again. Pace car is off on the restart. And our leader is Scott Walker with Mark Wicks in second. We're halfway through lap 10 of 20.
As I was saying there, 20 laps. It doesn't sound like a long way, does it? You think these guys have only just gone halfway, and they've really got their work cut out for them here on the Thunderdome. They don't have a second to be able to just take a bit of a rest at all. Just total concentration, total focus all the way through every turn.
Well, Augusta and Harding are still dicing. Augusta goes right up high into the Simcoe turns 3 and 4. Now he comes down, but another car started to come through. Harding trying to keep him blocked out as well. But Mark Wicks is now challenging Walker right on his bumper.
Wicks really got his act together this season, hasn't he? He's been really fast all year.
In that second bunch of cars there are 10 or 11 cars battling for third position.
Look at that, 4 abreast. One going for 5. I mean, just how much room do they think there is on this racetrack?
Well, just fantastic. All of a sudden, they're catching our 2 leaders, but it is still Scott Walker. One car's gone high. That looked to be John Harding. He has gone right. Boy, I tell you what, he's almost collected the wall.
Yeah, Harding did a great job to save that. He's got himself a little bit high, got up there into the marbles, and once you get up into that loose stuff, mate, it's just a matter of hanging on and doing the best you can, but he certainly did the best he could and saved it.
Richard Ireland in there now, and Steve Walker. Steve Walker's in the number 10 white and green HQ, sitting in third at the moment. Richard Ireland, technically he's probably in fourth. Well, you've got to try and line them up. That's a bit hard. But Steve Walker's coming around the outside now, trying to pass Wicks. He won't do it. And Wicks still holds on to second. John Spencer's in there behind him in the Dart Racing team. That's the second car for David Amor. The yellows are out. The HQ Holdens are under caution. Adam Gillette has got a problem on the track, so we'll take the opportunity and go to a break on the 10 Network. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. We're racing underway yet again in the Holden Quality Parts HQs. The restarts happen, the green's out, and it's mayhem ahead.
Mayhem ahead and mayhem behind, Gerald. These guys have just had a huge charge. I watched John Augusta try to pass on the grass there. Wasn't able to pull it off, but almost took himself and about 14 others off the racetrack.
Scotty Walker's still leading. Mark Wicks is in second, and Robert Wright doing a great job in third. Rich Ireland's in there as well. Steve Walker's in there too. John Augusta's in there. Boy, it's still happening. There's plenty going on. There's no doubt about that. The Holden Quality Parts Cup always provides us with plenty of action.
Big hard charge to the finish. Augusta took another line down low, back onto the grass again. Let me tell you, man, this guy is not right to have a go.
It's amazing in some of the other categories of cars that we see here at the Goodyear Thunderdome, when they're onto the grass, they slow quite dramatically. These HQs, there is just no stopping them.
No, absolutely not. You know, they're down onto the lower apron. These guys don't care where they race, do they? They just want a big hard charge for the finish. This is it.
Only a lap and a half or so to go. Walker's still out in front. Wick second. Richard Island has now moved up to third in the decisive move. Talk about decisive moves. He's going to try anyone that he can. I believe the white flag is waving. We might be on the last lap, and here comes John Acosta.
Down the outside. I don't know whether he's got enough time left. 1 lap left to go. I think he's a little bit far back for that, but he hasn't been told. He's still having a big charge.
Well, the white flag is waving. Scott Walker, I said he has had a win. He hasn't. His brother Steve Walker's won at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Will Scotty make it too for the family? He's going to try as they come around Simcoe turns 3 and 4. And that was one of the Dennis Pennell cars, the 51 car of Paul Bongiorno. He's out of it, but it is Scott Walker going to take a great win. The checkered flag waves. Fantastic result for Scotty Walker in the Walker Transport car, and there is no doubt about it. He is one happy camper.
Scotty Walker, a win from start to finish. We don't see that too often in HQs.
No, that was that's my first ever win and first ever pole position, and I can tell you I'm wrapped.
You've only been in the sport 2 years. You haven't driven anything prior to this. Bit of a natural?
A lot of help from my brother. He set the car up for me, and the team. Without them, we wouldn't be here today.
Well, one very happy winner. Scotty Walker takes out the Holden Quality Parts win. Mark Wicks in second, Richard Island third, John Acosta in fourth, and Robert Wright took out number 5. Let's look back at the Goodyear Thunderdome last round for a spectacular moment. And we followed the 500cc world champion Kevin Schwantz in the AC Delco Cup cars in practice. And unfortunately, this spin took out Bob Middleton in the 95 white line transport car. That was the team's #1 car, and that's put that car out for the rest of the weekend. Then we get to race day. First lap of a restart, Bob Middleton, he was out, and he was pretty unhappy. George Elliott caught up with him earlier.
Bob Middleton, probably the most unlucky driver at the racetrack on the last outing. Tore up 2 race cars in 1 weekend. Bob, you wouldn't know it to look at it now. I guess you're hoping for a better run this week.
Oh, George, we're really looking forward to a lot better week. Could not be anywhere near as bad as last time. And hopefully with all the work our team and our sponsors have put in, especially All Transport Crash, they've done a fantastic job preparing the car for us. We're looking forward to a good race meeting this time.
Jim Richards, great outing on the last round. Race was cut short. I guess you'd have to call it unlucky. I don't really know, but I felt that if you'd had a bit more time, you may have caught Kim. How did you feel?
Yes, I think we would have. We had new tyres on when we stopped. Unfortunately, we didn't quite read the lights on the top of the pace car quite right, and of course we ended up starting half a lap behind the field. But had the race gone as full distance, we may have caught Kim. Or had we started with the pack, then I think it would have been a great race, you know, like with the 3 of us, Terry, Kim and myself for the lead.
Well, a little controversial finish, but tonight's a whole new ball game. Much longer race tonight. Change of tactics?
Well, I think normally in a race of this length, which I think is 137 laps, I think the first probably 80 or 90 laps is going to be a good solid pace, but not flat out, because I mean you can't expect your tyres to last that long, and we've got to come in for fuel. So the longer we can sort of squeeze the fuel out of the car, the longer we can keep the tyres on it, we can keep racing. So I think there'll be a little bit of tactical play at the start of the race, and I think the race will come into a zone, I suppose, after about lap 80 or 90.
Well, there was a very diplomatic Jimmy Richards. Let's go back and have a look at the Goodyear Thunderdome AC Delco Cup race at round number 2, race 1. And it was Kim Jane that took the pole out and got off to a flying start. And then this 40-lapper. He led into turn 1 with Terry Wyhoon in the BP car care right alongside him. Didn't take long for Jimmy Richards in that Pie Royal No Fear sports gear car to come up through the field. And Max Dumsney also started to get a handle on his car. Richards was challenging Kim Jane pretty early on and squeezed through to finally take a first race win at round number 2. Jim Richards very happy there. When they come out under lights, so it was a little bit different. They gridded up the same as race 1 with Kim Jane running off pole and Terry Wyhoon alongside him. and Jim Richards in position number 3. Max Dumpsey did the kamikaze deal with the Valvoline car. He went high and wide on the first turn of race number 2, up into the marbles, and naturally this was the result. Spun the car around, bang went our camera, and Bob Middleton unfortunately had nowhere else to go. We had a full restart for the race. Kim Jane in the Bob Jane T-Mart car was concentrating, leading Terry Wyhoon and Jim Richards. Richards started the charge with Neville Lance on his tail. Gene Cook blew an engine in the Ostoil Ford Thunderbird, while Wyhoon came back up through the field, getting past Neville Lance. The 62 car blew an engine. We went under caution, and here's where the controversy happened. Jimmy Richards went into the pits. The lights turned out quickly, and he had to try and catch the field. Unfortunately, he couldn't make up ground on Kim Jane and Terry Wyhoon, with the BP Car Care car and the Bob Jane T-Mart cars ultimately finishing first and second, and Jimmy Richards third. And George Elliott, the controversy has ended. Here we are, the Herald Sun 250 with Dean Wallace and Terry Wyhoon off the front row, Neville Lance, Jim Richards off row 2.
Yeah, row 3 sees Max Dumpsey, Kim Jane, and row 4, Bob Middleton. Alongside of Bob is Ken James.
Paul Stocker's next on row 5. Alongside him is Gene Cook. Rocket Rodney Jane is on row 6 with Jimmy Ellis.
Row 7, we've got Greg Murphy, and alongside of Greg Ian Thomas, behind those two is Terry Byers.
Andrew Calder is on row 9 with John Maltzhead. Scott March and Darryl Kuhn round out the field. The controversy has ended. We're about to go racing. Jimmy Richards looking for a win in this 137 lapper. And Greg Murphy, the Bathurst 1000 winner, looking for a great debut.
Yeah, good to see Greg step over and come into a NASCAR for a night. He'll have a lot of fun here, I'm sure. And you're right, you know, Jim would put all that controversy behind him now, and this is another round, another race, a new night. He'll have forgotten about that, concentrate on what's going to happen here tonight.
Well, we spoke of controversy with Jim Richards missing out on that second race win at the last round of the AC Delco Cups. Here at the Herald Sun 250, there's another guy who's come back from a bit of controversy. It's the guy that's leading at the moment, Dean Wallace, who packed up and went home. He's out in front of Neville Lance and Terry Wyhoon.
Well, Dean's certainly setting the pace. He's really on the money here in practice and in qualifying. He's really got that car hammering tonight.
We're on top of Jim Richards' Pyroil. No Fear Dangerous Sports Gear number 1 Pontiac. Dean Wallace is out in front in that metal cork car. And Neville Lance and Terry Wyhoon in second. There is our championship leader, Kim Jane, looking out the back of the Bob Jane T-Mart Goodyear 27 Chevy. Have a look at the concentration. George, is it that hard and that physical inside the car?
Yeah, it certainly is. It takes a lot of manhandling for these NASCARs to get around this track. And, you know, it's a tough track and they're a hard car to handle. And you can really see that by looking at the drivers inside the car. Kim Jane really concentrating there.
Well, Dean Wallace is streeting the field at the moment. He's putting the pressure on. The pressure's on so much, we're going to go to a break. We'll be back on the 10 Network. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome, wherever you're watching around Australia on the 10 Network. And Dean Wallace is out in front in this AC Delco Cup race, the Herald Sun 250, under lights at the Goodyear Thunderdome. And it's a great race so far, George.
Yeah, it certainly is. Dean's certainly showing them the way around. Neville Lance getting a little bit slippery there. I don't know whether Neville's got a little bit of a problem. It's starting to get a bit sideways. Still very fast, though. He's doing a great job out there tonight. Jim Richards slips up the inside. Richo keen to square things off from the last meeting.
And Terry Wyhoon also doing a great job in second. George Elliott caught up with him earlier today and asked him about the Australian Thunderbird.
I've been over to the States like everyone and looked at, you know, chassis and whatnot, what's available over there. And I just wasn't convinced that we were getting the right deal, you know, like, because I guess we didn't know the people. And so I just spoke to Tommy Smith, and he assured me he reckons, you know, he'd love to do it and try and put a chassis together which was equally as competitive as the American ones. And I think he's done a really good job.
Obviously he has too, George. That BP Car Care car performing exceptionally well, and they have got a lot of development work left in the car.
Well, they've still got a lot they can do with the car. You know, the car was very fast straight out the box, but you know, it doesn't mean to say they can't get a lot more speed out of it yet.
Yeah, a job well done to the BP Car Care team. The Pie Royal, #1 car, Jim Richards sitting right on his tail, trying to come through, but Jimmy knows there's a long way to go, and will just be taking care of the car, as he said earlier, and the tyres. That's the main thing. Squeeze as much out of the fuel as you can, and then worry about the tyres.
Yeah, well, Jim would like to stay in touch with the leader. I mean, he wants to get a little bit closer to Dean. He wouldn't be all that concerned about trying to lead a race from this point, I wouldn't imagine, but he certainly doesn't want to get out. There goes Bob Middleton again. Gee whiz, he's had some bad luck.
Oh, Middleton's gone around, and he has been tagged as well. Darryl Coon in the Simcoe car hits the brakes really hard, misses the Pennzoil car of Marshall Broad, but Ken James has copped it with the IC Iced Coffee car, and also wet paint. Well, he's going to need some wet paint on it. The caution is out. There's Ken James, the 01 car. Let's have a look at the Repco replay. Middleton just a bit loose, George.
Yeah, Bob's got himself in a little bit of drama there. He hasn't been able to save the car, and it's pretty difficult to do that. You know, once the car steps out like that, very, very difficult to pull it back into line again. And I think the unlucky one there was Ken James. Ken's actually thrown his car sideways a little bit, but just caught the rear of her on the way through. And, you know, first time back after a very hard hit for Ken James. So he's lucky that he only got a little bit of a tag there.
And the unfortunate part about it, Ken James's wet paint IC Iced Coffee car had our camera in the back of it. Let's have a look at the Repco replay. And here he goes. He's going to go down low here to try and miss Bob Middle. Bang. But the camera still worked amazingly. And the car's gone around. He's kept it off the concrete. Tell you, one of the lucky guys there as well, George, was Greg Murphy, making his debut here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Was right behind Middleton where he spun, and Murphy stayed out of trouble, which is a great thing and hard to do for a first-timer on the bank oval.
Yeah, it is, and considering once the cars get sideways like that, we didn't quite see it, but a big blanket of smoke goes up, and very difficult to see where you were going. Here we have Dean Wallace, who's led them away again. He's going to show them a way around.
Lap 16 of 137 in the Herald Sun 250 here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. And there's Kim James. He's just stormed past Scott March, and he has the race face on. Dean Wallace is still leading on the Auto Pro scoreboard with Jimmy Richards in second and Terry Wyhoon in third. Let's go down to the pits with Nathan Prendergast.
Andy Williams, Ken James, screw cheese. What went wrong there?
Well, Bob Middleton was spun in front of us, tried to avoid it. The IC Coffee wet paint Monte Carlo was going perfectly. Was trying to settle down to the race strategy, and he just got tapped by Bob Middleton in the rear quarter, and had to come in and change tyres.
He did have a neck problem from the previous incident. Is he okay?
Yes, he hasn't said anything about it. The neck seems to be okay.
Best of luck as the race wears on.
Thank you.
Well, the thing that's going to affect Ken James, George, is the aerodynamic deal at the back with that spoiler having been altered a little bit in that touch.
Yeah, it certainly is. That car's going to be a nightmare to drive, but Ken will just pick the pace and he'll run where he feels it's safe to run the car.
Dean Wallace currently picking the pace out in front in the Metal Corp car. That Thunderbird looking really good coming out of Auto Pro turns 3 and 4 and across the line. He is leading the field, and Jim Richards currently in second spot, looking to take out the win in this 137 lap race. So all the tactics used in the first 2 rounds of the season have been thrown out the window. This is a new race, a new deal, not a 40 and 60 lapper. It's just 137 laps.
And it's a different ball game altogether. You know, we talk about tactics, and the guys really got to think about their tyre wear, their fuel, when to come in for pit stops. When the yellows come out, I think Kim Jane actually pitted under the last yellow, put some new tyres on the car. That'll make him fairly quick now, but whether or not he comes in and puts them on again on the next yellow, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we talked to Ian Thomas, driver of the Valvoline Killer Loop car, about the tactics earlier today.
We've set our car up conservatively, which is normally the way that we do it. It hasn't worked well for us in the first 2 rounds, just the shorter races. But I believe the setup that we've got now, whilst it's not fast and short runs, I think it'll be good on long runs.
Well, Greg Murphy's hoping he's got the great setup. He's chasing the number 2 car of Ian Thomas. There on screen, the Valvoline Killer Loop car. There's the 34 Clarion Monte Carlo of Greg Murphy, the Bathurst 1000 winner in 1996.
Kim Jane, a big hard run up underneath there. He's certainly got that car dialed in now. He's put brand new rubber, as we mentioned earlier, and makes a big difference, new tyres.
Interesting move to go in so early, lap 14. He's trying to get on the pace with Dean Wanless and Jim Richards. Let's look out the front of Max Dumsney's Valvoline Bright Eyes Killer Loop car. And no doubt those killer loops have given him the killer look. He's looking to get up the field. Just got Terry Wyhoon there looking the inside line with that Valvoline car.
Max certainly on the pace tonight. He's got his whatever problems he had with that car seem to have been sorted out. We saw him have a huge hit at the last round there. Ran a little bit high. Who knows, mate? I've made some, you know, I've pulled some pretty interesting moves that I thought were a really good idea at the time.
Well, Max is now up to 5th spot. Darryl Coon, the Simcoe car there, battling with Andrew Calvert. Calvert, the 71 Side Pro car, goes through from Tasmania. Great to have him here at the Goodyear Thunderdome for every meeting with that Side Pro team. There's Terry Wyhoon, and we've got 24 laps down of 137.
We just saw Gene Cook's Austral Thunderbird looking rather spectacular with flames coming out of both sides. Good to see him with a new sponsor on board, City Ford. Nice to see them come on board with Gene.
It is great, and have you driven a Ford lately? Well, we've got 2 pretty fast ones there with Terry Wyhoon and also Gene Cook. And speaking of fast Fords, there's the fastest one at the moment. It's the Metalcorp car, and there's this very slow one. Neville Lance in the Auto Pro car has whacked the wall. The King Coil car, well, he'll be looking for a new bed to go and lie down somewhere, George. No doubt about it.
Poor old Neville Lance has been fast all season. He just needs a bit of luck to run with him.
The Herald Sun 250 is under caution here at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Round 3 of the AC Delco Cup for 1997-98. And we are under caution with Neville Lance in the wall. And there's the yellow. Crews are getting ready for a pit stop. We're going to take ours right now. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome. I'm Gerald McDornan, and with me is George Elliott, and we're on a restart of the Herald Sun 250, round number 3 of the AC Delco Cup.
Gerald, what a great race. The guys are really panning it out, aren't they? I mean, they're not holding back. I reckon they're running about 9.5 tenths at the moment, just looking after things, although Dean Wanless is certainly pouring on the speed.
Over 100 laps still to run. We're on lap 33 of 137. As you said, Wanless has poured the pressure on. There's Ian Thomas in one of the Bright Eyes Valvoline cars. We're on board with Max Dumsney. He goes around the outside of Bob Middleton there in the number 5 car.
Yes, Bob looking for a better run here tonight than his last outing, I'm sure of that.
Boy, Dean Wanless is doing a great job. Les Small, crew chief in the pit area, is looking after him from the tactics angle. Wanless doing the job on the racetrack, and here comes Kim Jane under the inside of Ian Thomas. The number 2 Valvoline car goes back one. There's Kim Jane really working hard inside the car.
Yeah, Kim really focused here. He wants to get back in touch with the leaders. We mentioned earlier that Kim came in, put some new tyres on. Of course, that would have started him from the rear of the field, but with the new tyres, he'd be able to pick that up very quickly.
Richards now trying to pressure Wanless. There is a long way to go. We spoke with Jimmy earlier in the day. He said it's all about tactics, trying to conserve the tyre, get every ounce of fuel out of the car before you make a pit stop. But Wanless is doing a great job in that 75 Ford Thunderbird at the start of the field. We talked about Greg Murphy. He is making his debut in the AC Delco Cup. We asked him his impressions of one of the cars.
Yeah, well, my first impression was with the pretty awesome things. I was pretty impressed by the way they get up and go. I mean, there's a lot of horsepower under the bonnet, and they arrive at those turns 1 and 3 awfully fast.
Well, what is the feeling as well? The G-forces in the car going around the banked turns.
Yeah, I mean, you really do notice it, and it's just the feeling of them actually sticking like they do, and that's the one thing that I really haven't got used to yet is actually how much grip they have got through the turns. And I mean, they are so fast around there, and you can really get on the gas and drive them through there so hard. But it sort of, you're telling your brain and your foot telling your brain telling your foot to stay on the gas or get back on the gas is one thing, and you know it's quite difficult to do.
That's an interesting observation from a guy who's got some great experience in driving touring cars and also Formula Holdens.
Well, it is. It's tough, you know. The idea to be fast here is to run as deep into the corner as you possibly can. And he's right. Your brain is saying, let's get out of the gas. And you just got to keep it buried. Looking at Terry Wyhoon up the inside of Rodney Jane. Rodney Jane moved into NASCARs or the AC Delco Cup cars for the first time this season and doing a great job.
Yes, he is. He's also running with the help of John Sydney Racing, the Oscar alloy wheels. Number 3 Chevy, Monte Carlo, doing a fabulous job. There's Gene Cook starting to put a bit of smoke out the back of the Oscar oil car. Let's go back to last meeting, and Gene Cook unfortunately blew an engine, and now, yes, he has. He has copped a black flag from race control.
That's not a good sign, you know, anytime you see oil coming out from under a car like that. A lot of times you like to think maybe there's a tyre rubbing, but not in this case. You can see Gene still blowing smoke, even on the straightaways. So a definite indication of oil coming out from under his car somewhere.
Dumsney going around the outside of Gene Cook's 41 Ostoil car, and Cook is a winner of an AC Delco Cup race here 2 seasons ago. He won the last race of the year, and he is coming into the Primus pit lane with the 41 car, and it looks to be, although now the car appears to be okay, maybe it might be the end of the night. We're going to have a look and go down to the Primus pit lane. The crew comes over the wall. They are at the ready and drilled for this meeting as well.
Well, the worry here, Gerald, is that if it is oil coming out from that car, it's going somewhere. And the only place it can go really is down onto the racetrack, which creates a bit of a problem for these other drivers that are out there still at full race speed.
Wanless has just gone around Jimmy Ellis, and talking about going around, Jim Richards has gone around in that number 1 Pyroil car. The car has spun out big time on the infield. The roof flaps have gone up.
Richo Latty not... Oh, Kim Jane not quite so lucky. He's lost it on the same corner, and dare I say, oil had to go somewhere.
Well, there might have been oil on the track, no doubt. The Herald Sun 250 is under caution, and I don't think there's any doubt about it. Let's look at the Repco replay, and Wanless has just gone around the Jimmy Ellis Phil Monday panels car, and just in the background there we saw Jim Richards go. The roof flaps are up on the car. He's kept it off the wall. Let's look to the background.
Yeah, there's
Kimbo, and he is in all sorts of problems.
Not so lucky. Kim was actually running a little higher on the racetrack there, and he's clouded the wall.
Here's from the back of the Bob J. T-Mart car on the Repco replay. And look at this. Here we go. The car's all out of shape. Bang, hits the wall and spins around. I don't think he's going to be a happy camper. Well, I don't think.
What do you think he's trying to say there?
He's not happy. Look at the oil on the lens of Jimmy Richards' car.
Yeah, there it is. That's the oil. That's what's caused all the damage. I'd say that's what's been coming out from underneath Gene Cook's Thunderbird.
And, well, we didn't hear a whole lot of going on out of Jimmy Richards' car, but a whole lot of damage out of the Bob Jane T-Mart 27 Goodyear Chevy Monte Carlo of Kim Jane. The John Sydney team are working hard, and they've got those Repco tools pulling the tyres off, and the race is under caution, and everyone is diving into pit lane here for the Herald Sun 250.
Gerald, just seen that inside front tyre come off Kim Jane's car there. You can actually see the oil around the slick itself.
And the crew having all sorts of problems trying to move the bodywork out. They'll try and get the car back out onto the racetrack and gain some points, but aerodynamically the car is shot for the night, and it's now a case of let's finish the race and don't worry about positions.
Yeah, it depends on whether or not that car's had a hit on the right on the quarter of the front clip, and it tends to push the clip out of shape. If that's happened, I kind of doubt that he'll be able to get back onto the racetrack tonight.
Jim Richards in pit lane as well with the Pyroil car. The 2 inner tyres have blown on that car in the spin, and the crew working overtime with Dick Midgley Racing Team. Have no fear about that. The Wattle Spartan car is looking pristine. Thankfully, it didn't touch the wall. They're putting the fuel in, and hopefully they're going to run to the checkered flag. We're getting ready to go to a break on the 10 Network. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to the Goodyear Thunderdome, and yes, Jim Richards is back in the pit. George Elliott, he couldn't change the outside tyre.
Well, no, when he came in on the first time, he was too close to that white line there, and on that white line, they can't change tyres. No question about having to change the tyres. They would have all been flat-spotted. The inside ones, you can see those ones there, torn to shreds. But, you know, any time a spin like that at almost 200 miles an hour, you know, it takes the rubber right off the tyres.
Well, the Pyroll team have worked exceptionally hard. They're pushing Jimmy Richards out. We're going down to Primus pit lane and Nathan Prendergast.
You can see the tyres of the Jim Richards car. They're absolutely destroyed, but that's not why he spun. It definitely was oil on the racetrack. This is the result of a near 300 kilometre per hour spin. Both the tyres on the outside are destroyed. If you go round to our behind us here, this one in a lot worse shape.
Well, an interesting pit lane report in the Primus pits from Nathan Prendergast. We're on the restart for the Herald Sun 250, and Max Dumsney is in familiar territory on lap 72. George Elliott, he's back at the front of the field.
Well, with all that rice dust on the racetrack too, you know, the only place to be is out there in front, because it's a nightmare when you're sitting back in the middle of the pack and all that dust. You just can't really see anything.
Well, especially there. I mean, that's a graphical look right there. 4 or 5 cars back at 150, 200 mile an hour. And you've got to have your wits about you when you're driving that fast.
Well, what you've got to have is you've really got to rely on the other drivers just keeping their foot down just as hard. You know, you've got to have faith in the people that you're racing with.
And Dean Wallace has gone through to take the lead yet again in the Metal Corp Ford Thunderbird. On the Auto Pro scoreboard, he's out in front of Max Dumsney. But the Valvoline Killer Loop team coming back into the goods. Let's pick it up on lap 127 of 137 at the Goodyear Thunderdome, and the pressure is now on Kim Jane. He's holding his line, and the faster Dean Wallace wants to come through, and Jimmy Richards is now on his tail.
Yeah, Richo's about at the end of the race where he really wants to get up the front there. Dean Wallace about to go around the outside. Kim's not going to give it to him very easily, though. Holding his line, well, he's not really doing anything wrong there. He's racing, but, well, he'd be certainly wishing Kim was well out of the way.
And it has allowed Jim Richards to close right on the tail of Wanless in this AC Delco Cup Herald Sun 250, round 3 of the 97-98 Goodyear Australian Super Speedway Series. And now Jimmy Richards is starting to pressure for the lead, and the Pyroll car looking for the inside line.
You know, it appears that Dean seems to be holding Jim up a little bit there. I think that if Jim was in front, he'd probably be able to pull away. He's able to stay with Dean. Dean's certainly pushing that car right to the maximum. Almost lost it there, and Jim definitely looks faster through the turns.
That Metal Corp car is starting to get extremely loose in the rear end as he's coming out of the turns. You just saw it in a little bit of a bubble around the Auto Pro turns 3 and 4, but definitely in Simcoe 1 and 2. This car is starting to get very loose, and Jim Richards has so much experience, and he'll just keep pressuring him until perhaps a mistake is made, or he can slip past and Wanless has to back off.
Well, he's certainly got a lot more experience, but he's also, I believe, in a little bit better shaped car at the moment. You know, Dean, again, a little bit out of shape there. He's led this race from start to finish, don't forget. That's a tough call to ask from a race car. He's really pushing it into his limits, and Jim's been able to get in there. He's got 4 fresh tyres on. His car's looking in really good shape. Jim would be sitting about where he wants to be at the moment. I don't think he's too keen to take the lead too early, because that would leave Dean a few laps to be able to move back on him.
Well, that's the other thing. As you say, George, if Jimmy goes through now, it perhaps would allow Dean Wallace to pull back on the laps. Well, 131, we've only got 6 to go, but even a couple of laps to allow those tyres to maybe cool down a little bit again and try and bring some adhesion back into them.
Well, I would imagine that Dick Midgley, Jim's crew chief, is on the radio to him at the moment. He'd be giving him the countdown. Jim would know exactly how many laps there are to run. And, well, I know if I was in that position, I'd be hoping to take the lead with about maybe 2, maybe 3 laps to go, because it's a lot less chance than of Dean being able to get back up underneath and take the win away from him.
Well, it's all about cool heads, and Wanless and Richards both have those in extreme pressure situations. But Jim Richards, a multi-touring car champion, multi-winner at Bathurst at the big 1000, and of course an AC Delco Cup champion. He's won everything he's been in, and he is in the premier spot here. Look at the Metal Corp car starting to come out at the tail, and Dean Wallace has his hands full. He's done a great job to lead from the start, qualified on pole. For his sake, let's hope he can carry it through to the finish.
Well, he really has done a great job. You know, he opened up the gap there a little bit, but Jim's been able to close it again, and each time that Dean... Oh, sideways again. That just indicates just how hard he's pushing that car. You know, it's right on the edge of out of control, and again, we see Jim pick up a little bit of... close the gap a little bit there because his car is much more stable in the turns. Here he is having a look up the inside, not this time because the slower car are in the way, but he definitely seems to have the superior car at this point.
Marshall Brewer in that Pennzoil Monte Carlo making his debut in the AC Delco Cup, moved over and let Wanless and Richards come through. Wanless has got loose and gone down the inside. This has allowed Richards in the Pyroll car to go the outside line and probably around Auto Pro 1 and 2 bends. Look at that, the car is just going where he wants it to go, and Wanless, he's driving like he's...
Yeah, he's like a man possessed, isn't he?
Well, he's controlling that car like his sprint car Australian champion brother Todd.
Well, that car was sideways. You know, Jim had a bit of a look out the outside there. It would take a brave man to go around the outside of that car, the way it's slipping and sliding out towards the wall. But he's got the pass on the inside, and we'll just see now whether Dean's able to get close enough to have one last thrust at him and try and make a slingshot move right at the end of it.
Got to say, Jimmy's car is also that Pyroll No Fear car. Have no fear about it. That car's starting to move a little bit in the turns as well.
Well, it is because they're pushing it so hard. And now that Jim's in front, you know, he has to try and get everything he can out of that car because he knows if he doesn't give it that absolute maximum, Dean Wallace isn't going to hold off. He's going to go for broke. He's going to pull out everything he's got and throw it at him on the last lap.
Well, Richards is pushing hard and Wanless is doing his best to keep up. The 75 car is sideways through the turn. There is Terry Waihoon, the BP car care car. He's in third. Another great result so far. Let's hope he can keep it together as well. But the last lap is on. The white flag has waved, and Jim Richards looks as though he's on the way to victory lane.
Well, Jim's a very cool driver. He'd have his head, he'll keep his head together now, stay very, very focused. He's got 4 turns to go. He'll be concentrating on those 4 turns. He'll be racing the racetrack at this point.
Coming around the outside of Marshall Brewer in the Pennzoil car. Here comes the Pyroll car onto the main straight for the last time. And Jim Richards takes the checkered flag and the win with the Pyroll No Fear Waddle car. The crew are delighted. And no doubt Jimmy Richards is as well. Let's go down to Nathan Prendergast on Primus pit lane.
Well done, Jim. That was a tough one.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a long race, and Dean drove fantastic. I didn't really think I was going to get him. If he hadn't been held up a little bit with the slower cars and let me actually get onto him, I don't think I would have done it. But seeing he was held up, but I got right behind him, then I put a little bit of pressure on him and just managed to sneak past.
I bet there was a few times there you thought you might have warned him.
No, he was under control. He was getting a little bit loose, but I could see that he wasn't going to throw it away.
Now, it appears here down on the ground, the car might have been on its last legs. There's a bit of fluid down there.
No, we ran in the radiator with a fair bit of tape on it, and it was just running around the 200 degrees most of the race. So when you stop, that's when the water comes out.
This is also your first long-distance race here in Australia. How does that feel?
It felt like a short one. It was good.
Well done, mate. It was a fantastic drive.
Thank you very much.
Well, a very happy winner there. Jimmy Richards takes the win in the Pyroll No Fear car. Dean Wallace in second, Terry Waihoon in third, Max Dumsney in fourth, and Rocket Rodney Jane in fifth on the AC Delco scoreboard. There's Jimmy congratulating everyone, and so he should, because he's gone into the championship lead ahead of Kim Jane. Waihoon in the BP car care car in third, Neville Lance in fourth, and Ian Thomas in fifth spot. So the Valvoline Bright Eyes team having a good night all round. That is it for round number 3 at the Goodyear Thunderdome. Thanks, George Elliott. It's great to have everyone's company. We look forward to seeing you back here again on the 10 Network real soon.